Welcome to this overview of Principles of Marketing. Basically, many people don't really understand what marketing is. We see advertising and we've experienced working with salespeople, but that's really only a small part of marketing. So what we're going to do in this module is to look at what marketing is. The American Marketing Association in July of 2013 gave this definition of marketing. Marketing is the activity, the set of institutions, and the processes. So marketing are the activities and processes for creating offerings. And when we talk about offerings, we mean products, but also services and ideas that meet other individuals' needs. So marketing is the processes for creating offerings, communicating those offerings, delivering those offerings, and exchanging those offerings so that there's a perceived value from customers, clients, partners, and society at large. So a large part of marketing is doing all this so that potential customers see the value in what our organization offers. The Midwest Higher Education Compact is comprised of a number of universities in higher ed, and they had a team with people from Indiana, Illinois, and Kentucky, professors from private and public 2- and 4-year institutions that looked at what are the competencies, or what should students be able to know and do when they complete a degree in marketing. And so what we're going to do is to teach you about marketing based upon those identified competencies. The first competency identified is that of market sensing. And this basically means that marketers should be able to sense or know what's going on in their external market by collecting and analyzing data. And this means data about competitors, about the economy, about changes in technology, about changes in our society and culture and what they value, changes in demographic trends, changes in our legal and political environment, as well as international and ecological factors. Marketers also sense things that are a little bit more internal to the organization, like market share, what customer needs, and industry trends and data. So the first aspect of marketing is to be able to sense what's happening in the marketplace. The next major competency of marketers is to then interpret that market so that we can see the meaning and the relationships between consumers and our organizations and our products so that we can facilitate that value creation we talked about earlier in the definition of marketing. Another major aspect of marketing is, after sensing and interpreting the market, to actually go about creating value with our products or services. And we do that by developing what's called a marketing mix. We'll address that later today, that reflect both the needs and characteristics of the markets that we are targeting as a result of the information we've gathered. So the major competencies of marketers are to sense the market, interpret the market, create value for the market, but then also to analyze how well we did that and get feedback so that we can understand any gaps that might exist in meeting the goals that we established in the previous steps and making changes so that we can better meet needs of whoever it is we're trying to serve, of our target market. One other major characteristic or competency of marketers is that they're very good at personally communicating the value of their personal brand, their unique talents and strengths and characteristics, and packaging those together so that in interviewing or in other ways they can differentiate themselves in the market and show the unique value that they add. So what we're going to do through the study of these principles of marketing is to study market sensing, market interpretation, market value creation, and market analytics, feedback, and control. This next slide shows how each of these stages are then broken down into separate aspects. For example, when we study market sensing, we will be looking at environmental analysis and researching consumer behavior and other aspects of marketing. When we study market interpretation, we will be studying segmentation, targeting, positioning, and marketing strategy. And I understand these words really don't make a lot of sense to you now, but if we were to revisit this slide at the end of this study of principles of marketing, all of these terms should make much sense to you. In the study of market value creation, we'll be looking at our product, pricing, and our supply chain management and integrated marketing communications activities. Additionally, when we look at market analytics, feedback, and control, we'll be looking at some metrics and how to manage these customer relationships. So again, this is just a little bit more depth on these four major competencies and breaks these competencies into subcompetencies. The interesting thing is, our question might be, why should I study marketing, or what makes me different as a marketer from other people? Again, this comes from a presentation that was made from the MHEC, Midwest Higher Education Marketing Tuning Team to the Fall Educators Conference. And we got some qualitative research there, which shows us some key differences between marketers and other majors in a college or even other business majors. So let's look at some things that make marketers different. First of all, marketers are very results driven. We know that in business we have financial, budgeting, and forecasting what's going to happen in the marketplace. How much are we going to sell? How much profit are we going to make? How are we going to achieve those sales? So while other people might be good communicators, marketers are very results driven for organizations, and companies need that. Another key aspect about marketers is that we tend to be futuristic. We look at how much we're going to sell in the future and how we're going to do that. Marketers also tend to be fairly adaptable. They are able to work in changing circumstances. Another major characteristic of marketers is they seem to be the one person in the organization that is extremely external or customer oriented. They're very focused on what's best for the customer, and so this is very key. Marketers also tend to be very interdisciplinary. They work very well and understand their relationship with other business disciplines like accounting and finance and operations. And they also work with disciplines outside of marketing. In fact, much of marketing is based on social sciences like psychology, sociology, but these things are applied to a business setting. And so that makes marketers very unique and very different, and also very valuable to businesses. Some people think that there's no difference between marketing and selling or advertising, because actually selling or advertising is really the only aspect of marketers that the general public really sees very often other than the actual product. Marketing, though, is focusing on creating that value and creating long-term relationships to meet customer needs. So what's interesting is that while a peddler or a salesperson or an advertiser might be interested in making the sale, a marketer is really interested in repeat sales and strong relationships to meet customer needs over time. Good salespeople, by the way, are also very interested in making those relationships. So what happens is marketers look at this customer out there in the marketplace, we might call that our target market, and try to create an exchange between our marketing mix, and that is our product, our price, our promotion, and our distribution to create value. So where does advertising or selling fit in all of this? Well, it's very interesting to note that advertising is part of promotion, which is part of the marketing mix, which is part of marketing. So I hope you can begin to see how marketing is much more than just promotion, which is much more than just advertising or selling. In fact, there are other ways to promote, which we'll study this semester. So I hope you've begun to see that marketing is much different than just advertising or selling, and it has a much broader perspective, which we will be covering this semester.